Warning, the Spoilercast does contain spoilers of current and past movies, books, video games, TV shows, and possibly your life. So if you're listening to a show called Spoilercast and you're pissed off that we gave away spoilers, we really don't care. Thanks again and have a wonderful day.
Hey, this is Roper from All Tower Media here with my good friend Adam. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
And Dire Monkey, how are you?
Doing pretty good.
Excellent. So, Adam, you've never been on the show with me before, but you and I were talking just a minute ago. We've known each other for
17 years.
Basically all of our adult life.
A little before that.
Most of our adolescence as well. We've been around for quite some time. As a matter of fact, everything All Tower related has started with you and I.
Yeah.
I mean, literally everything about it has started with you and I.
Yeah, back whenever we were living together for the first time.
Yep, because I was crashing over at your parents' place back whenever I was in high school.
Yep.
And that's when you and I started writing stories, and that's where All Tower came from, was the stories that we were creating for a world that we were developing. And then it kind of branched out from there, and then that's when we started encompassing more than just a story. It became games and all sorts of other projects that we had been working on throughout the years. And we still have notes on tons of things that we haven't finished. It's just that it is what it is. But I started doing the podcast, and I've been wanting to have you on since then because you being co-founder with me on all of this stuff, you need to be right here at my side, my friend.
Yeah, and I've been wanting to show up here for quite a while. It's just not been something that's been feasible up until now.
Yeah, well, now that some of the things have changed and all of the planets are aligned,
I've lost 400 pounds.
Well, I don't know if it was 400, but yeah, really,
up a little bit.
Wow, I didn't know that. Well, I'm glad you're in good health. But today, okay, so you've known me for 17 years. You've known me for 17 years.
Yeah.
What are my thoughts on clowns?
Well, you don't care for them.
No, I don't care for them.
It was something with the circus, I think, like a long time ago. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember me, you, and Kyle all went to the circus, and you would not look at the clowns.
Nope. I have an irrational fear of clowns from before even going there. I went to the circus, but I knew good and well that I didn't deal with clowns. Like I just was like, there's something wrong with them. They're monsters. They're monsters that want to drag you off into the woods and eat you. That is what they are.
And I think the bad thing about that was there was one that even came up to you.
They did.
And it was figured out that you had a fear of it. And the whole time, it's just messing with you.
I did not particularly care. I was a 2x4 the entire time. I didn't move. I didn't talk. I didn't move my eyes. I was hard locked exactly where I was.
Well, me and Kyle actually thought that you were joking. And so whenever it came up behind you, I don't know if you remember that or not, and stood there for a while, we didn't say anything. We were just laughing. And then you turned around. I think that's about the time you left.
Yeah. I wasn't doing that anymore.
You went and waited in your little S10.
Yes, I did. But we went and saw the movie It. I went and saw the movie It. I was in Theater 6, Seat 6, Row 6 at the movie theater. And I couldn't get a hold. I was trying to get a hold of people to come with me that evening, and there wasn't a whole lot of people available. So I ended up going alone, and I didn't handle it well, man. It was okay. So we've established that for me, specifically for me, clowns are no bueno. Okay.
Yeah.
So I walking into this movie was going to be terrified basically no matter what. Now you're not like that.
No.
But you are a horror movie fan. Like you love horror movies.
Yeah, I have for years.
So for this movie specifically, how does it stack? Like, is it a scary movie?
I mean, it's scary, but the thing with it's not about the audience's fear. It's about the children's fear.
Right.
It's always been about them, and it is preying on their fear.
Right.
So it's not so much important that you're scared, it's that you're scared for the children.
And does it do that for you, do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they separate them so many times in reasonable ways, even.
Yep.
It's not just like, hey, let's split up and go off. It's
Now, have you watched Stranger Things?
Yes.
Okay, so for me, I think the part that I really appreciate the most about Stranger Things is the fact that they treat the kids in that as kids would be. I mean, these are D&D playing. I mean, we were D&D playing kids back whenever we were kids.
Yeah.
And we thought basically kind of the same way, where we didn't have access to like firearms per se. You didn't have access to some of the, I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I was always armed with a pocket knife.
And your beat stick.
And my beat stick. I always had something that I could thump on something with, but that's kind of what the kids in Stranger Things were. Well, in this, it's kind of the same thing. And the only reason they had any type of firearm per se is because we were already presented with the information that, was it Michael, the black boy?
Yeah, Mike.
Mike. He ends up, they present to us that he works in such a situation where he has access to something like that.
It wasn't even so much a firearm as it was just a bolt gun for killing sheep.
Right. But what I'm saying is like they equip themselves as children would be able to equip themselves.
Yeah.
They didn't make them like overly smart. There isn't any of them that were like, super geniuses that were like way over the top. The only one that is quirky like that is, what's his face? The hefty kid?
Ben.
Ben, thank you. Where he's kind of infatuated with the history of dairy, right?
See, and that's kind of weird for me. Have you read it?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
A lot of the roles they've kind of switched around
Right.
and changed some things on, and it was kind of weird for me that, Ben was the kid who was like that. Yeah, he was in the library, but if you remember, it's actually Mike who does a lot of the research
Right.
on it, but they've pushed that off onto Ben's character. But actually in the original, Bill is supposed to be fairly intelligent.
Right.
And while he is, still the leader, it's not showing through how intelligent he's supposed to be. So I do have a few issues with the movie.
Really? The new one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's mainly just the differences from the novel. But at the same time, I think a lot of those were done for the better.
Right. And I don't think there was anything necessarily wrong with it. Okay, so first off, I watched parts of the original movie.
Okay.
Because I didn't quite make it all the way through. That's when I was younger and definitely more scared.
Yeah.
Now I'm a little older. I'm still irrationally scared of clowns, especially real life clowns, like people that are like out and about dressed as clowns, especially scary clowns.
Yeah.
Or all the ones that were in the news that were like creeping up on people and doing all the dumb stuff. Everybody back whenever I was on patrol was like, oh, how do you think about that? I'm like, it's a good way to get yourself killed. That's exactly what that is.
Yeah.
So
I could see you shooting a clown.
I could, I'm shaking right now as it is just even thinking about that. But anyway, so, I did better this time around with this particular movie, even though this is by far, in my opinion, more scary.
Yeah.
The first one by comparison is kind of goofy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a classic. It's one of those, you look at it and you're like, yeah, this is a good movie all around, but it doesn't really capture the atmosphere and the fear that the It novel had, whereas this movie, while it may not remain 100% true, captures the atmosphere perfectly.
Yeah. So, I know you've come in equipped with a notepad there. What's some points that you were wanting to cover?
I've got pages.
You got pages of notes. Good deal. So we got plenty to discuss, but so one thing that I guess I should mention this as well for future reference. As of 2 weeks ago, a week ago, I don't even know what day it is. Jareth has moved back to Oklahoma, and so he's not going to be with us on the show unless he's back in town for something special or unless he calls in on something. But as of right now, he won't be with us. But I have, like I said, Adam is freed up some time, and I'm very happy to have you on with us. But what's some key points that you were wanting to get to with all of the It stuff?
Okay, a lot of this is like the differences and the changes that they've made to make the story more accessible.
Okay.
One of which, the big one that everybody seems to be talking about, is the scene from the novel in the sewers. I don't know if you recall that one or not.
In the story, in the book?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What happens is All of them are basically frightened as hell. And the way they go about calming them down, and this is kind of a weird one, but Bev decides she's going to sleep with every one of them. And basically they, for lack of a better term, they run a train on her.
Well,
and it's obvious why they admitted that. They admitted it from the original miniseries. Right. But I think Stephen King's come out and talked about why that happened. He'd never meant it in a sexual sense. It's more of a... Oh, sorry. They never meant it in a sexual sense. It's more of a coming of age, bring the group together thing, and they did other things that replaced that.
Gotcha.
One of the main ones, again, everybody seems to be complaining about is whenever Beverly gets kidnapped and taken down into the sewers.
Right.
That doesn't happen in the novel.
Right.
They go down there to hunt it. This one brings them back together because, again, another thing that doesn't happen in the novel, Bill and Richie, I believe, get into a fight.
Yes.
The group splits.
Yes.
And Bev being taken is the catalyst. Everybody's saying this makes her a damsel in distress. I have to say I kind of disagree on that because any one of them could have been taken.
And they would have all unified them back again. I completely agree with that as well. It could have been Mike. It could have been... The only one it couldn't have been that I would have a difficult time with would be Bill because he is the leader. I don't think anyone would have turned their back on him, but it would be weird and awkward to set up a new leader to then go rescue the leader. You know what I mean?
Not only that, who would have alerted everybody that he was missing because nobody was really talking to him at that point.
Exactly. And I agree with that. I think you're spot on with that. But she is used as a catalyst in order to reunify the group.
Yeah, I mean, she's the one on a couple occasions who saves the group. So I don't see the damsel in distress thing. Yes, they have to go and get her, but they would have done that for anybody.
She's the one that decided to rally everybody to go save Mike whenever the bullies were thumping on him down in the woods. And she's like, yeah, we got to go get this guy.
She's the first one to damage it.
Yep. Harpoons him through an eye with a giant spike.
Yep.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, it's a little different than the...
So I remember the miniseries version where you learn that it's not Stan. Stan's the Jewish boy.
Stan is the one who... or is Stan the Jewish one?
Yes.
Okay.
Whereas I don't remember what the other boy's name is. The one that's taking the medicines.
That is Eddie.
Eddie, thank you, Eddie. So Eddie's taking medicine that he determines or decides is a placebo.
Yeah.
It's water. And I remember, this is like one of the few things that I remember from the original one with Tim Curry, where he's got a hold of him and he's brought him up close, and Eddie thinks that he's puffing acid, is what he believes. And he sprays his inhaler on its face, and it like burns the side of Tim Curry's it mask thingy. Do you recall what I'm talking about here?
Yes. And there's actually a name for what that is.
What is it?
It's the ritual of Chud.
Okay, what do you go on?
Okay, you know who Maturin is?
Yes.
Okay, Maturin speaks to Bill and basically tells him, if you can believe it in your heart, then it has to follow those rules.
So he believes
it's acid,
so he sprays him with acid. Okay.
That's actually in the book how they defeat him. Is they believe that silver has magical properties. So they go and they find silver slugs, basically, and they're pelting him with them.
Yup. Power of belief, baby.
Yeah, and that's a big change from this one where they just kind of beat the shit out of him.
Beat the bricks off of him, yeah. Well, okay, so with this, they made it very clear that it feeds off of hunger, or it feeds off of fear.
Yeah.
And when you're not afraid, it's basically you don't have an appeal. You're not satisfying to it anymore.
Yeah.
And that's why it doesn't devour Beverly.
Right. And see, that's another weird one for me.
You think so?
Well, it's only weird that, the fear does make the flesh tastier, but it's not necessary. but then she looks in his mouth and sees the deadlights there.
Right.
Now, my issue there is once you see the deadlights, you're supposed to be insane. You're not supposed to be able to be brought back. It pushes you over an edge, but then they have Ben come in and give her a kiss, and everything's all better.
Well, yeah, true love's kiss, baby.
Yeah.
You know the power of true love's kiss?
And that's one of those that's one of the scenes that takes place of the earlier referenced sewer scene.
Right. Well, but the thing is they don't cross paths or they don't discuss the deadlights in this.
Right.
They haven't set the groundwork for that.
No, but they've already said that it's going to be in the sequel.
True. They'll discuss it at that point in time, but based off of the frame of reference and the context that we have now is what they'll build upon.
Yeah. It seems kind of weird that they would bring them in that manner.
Right.
Because the deadlights, as most King fans would know, are going to be the closest thing to Pennywise's true form.
Right.
And that's why it drives you insane, is you can't comprehend it. He's a being that's older than the universe.
Right.
He was there.
And everybody that I've talked to that doesn't necessarily know this, there's been a handful of people like, well, it's just a space spider. And I'm like, it's not from outer space. No,
it was there whenever the world was vomited up by the giant turtle.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Everybody knows that story.
Yeah, exactly. Behold the turtle of enormous girth. On his belly, he holds the earth. Yep. See, I know it. Why don't you know it, people? So it's one of the monsters from the Prim, the darkness that existed before. And it's been kind of bouncing along. Now, have you watched the Dark Tower movie?
I started to. I'm having issues getting into it.
Same. I watched it in the theater. I didn't like it, which is sad because I love the books. I love the books.
I really tried to give it a chance, and I recognize a lot of the stuff. It's not that I don't understand the things that are going on. I don't understand why they're changed.
Right. Well, that and I had a lot of issues with a lot of the way certain things were presented.
Yeah,
like the wizard glass that they found and were dealing with.
I didn't even get that far.
Oh yeah, well he has the pink one and he has the black one, and he's using the pink one to like project himself to somewhere else, and he uses the black one to actually be like it's bizarre, and there's no frame of reference to it. There's no context surrounding it. They're just kind of there, and you're just like you and I would get it. And people that have read the source material would totally get it. He has a whole case. Walter O'Dim, the man in black, has an entire case of wizard glass.
That's weird, but okay.
He has a whole box of them. And they're all in like a little like tray that's got them all in their like little thing.
Does he have all 13 of them?
They're all of them. They're all of them that are there. Yeah.
He should be able to just end things at that point.
Right? So there was stuff that was like... I'm like, I had some discrepancies with it. There was a lack of character development. There were a lot of things that were occurring during the movie that they had like 5 throwaway characters that I didn't particularly need and or care about. Yeah. There's just the way certain pieces of information were presented, and I enjoy a good story to be told. The Dark Tower movie did not have a good story being told, and that's unfortunate. Yeah. Because partway through the movie, they're in a forest area that's like an amusement park. And there is like this caravan-looking thing that has a thing on the side of it that says Pennywise.
Yeah, I saw the trailers with it.
Right. So then whenever you get over to this, and he's having the conversation with Georgie down in the sewers, and he's like, the whole carnival blew away. I think there's supposed to be a tie-in there, right, of how that may have happened, of how he went from one world into another. And I don't know if they're building upon a universe and they're making a Dark Tower universe, which would be super cool. But the groundwork set by the Dark Tower movie is faulty, to say the very least.
From what I understand, even if they did, the way the rights are right now, it wouldn't be tied in with it.
Gotcha.
It did have several Dark Tower references throughout, down to like the Lego turtle.
Right.
But it's not directly tied to that movie.
Right.
But they are making a remake of The Stand that's supposed to be.
Interesting.
From what I heard, I don't know what kind of truth it is.
And if The Stand is made anything like it, it'll be good.
Yeah.
Right? It'll be excellent. because The Stand is a wonderful story.
No, I love it, but at the same time, I don't know if you could really improve upon the original miniseries.
Right.
I know the effects are a little dated, but in general...
Hey, Trash Can Man is still the man.
In general, it nails everything.
Yeah,
and
it does.
Make it Bryan Cranston for Trash Can Man.
Has to be. It has to be, because he burns down Ohio. Like all of Ohio. He sets it all on fire. Like the whole state is burning as a result of one man running around setting fires. And then he goes crazy and goes walking through the desert and basically burns himself up. I love everything about it, right?
Yeah.
But with it, back to it, they did a really great job at jump scares. They did a really great job at special effects. The old woman that was looking out at the street and sees all the blood after she sees a kid looking down in the drain is an idiot for not like calling the police, but you know.
Yeah, that's another one of the changes I have listed. But
yeah, it was
Georgie's whole death scene was different.
He bites his freaking arm off.
That was actually in there.
Yeah,
but it just takes the arm.
Yeah,
and leaves the body.
Yeah.
So it was kind of weird to see the body go missing, but it was a great catalyst to get them down into the sewers looking for things.
Yes.
Because originally it was the Barons. Is that what they called
it?
Yes. They played in those all the time. In the movie, it was somewhere that it was a goal for them to get to and look for Georgie.
See, and I think that the way this information was presented this time around creates a more intriguing story.
Yeah.
Not that the original is bad. As far as the book goes, the book is excellent as well. The original movie, like I said, there's parts of it that are terrifying to me. Obviously, everything related to the clown is just terrifying to me. But there are parts of it that are kind of campy, right? But with this, it's an actual horror story with a good arc, with a good, driving force to put people together and bring the group as a whole, to fold over atop one another. There's, the love interest thing between Ben and Bev, but also Bill and Bev, and that competing force that's there, which I'm certain we'll see in part 2.
Oh yeah, it's a driving force. Like I said, they're sticking to the source material pretty closely, but they're just trimming out a lot of the fat, the stuff that just doesn't need to be there.
And I think that's useful.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It makes the story more streamlined and, again, more accessible to a larger audience.
So what was the scariest part for you?
Pennywise coming up from the water using Georgie as the puppet.
As a fucking okay, I got cold chills all of a sudden just then. Thank you for that. It's that effect. Okay, so there are two things that freak me out, okay? Clowns freak me the fuck out. I don't do clowns at all, okay? Not at all. Not in the slightest. I just don't. I didn't even want to go see this movie. I went and saw it because I knew that it would be for wonderful conversation after the fact. Everybody was all excited about it. I had people going, I would love to watch you watch this movie. Okay. That's pretty much the reason I went and did this. But I didn't want to. Like, if I could have avoided any movie this year, it would have been this one.
Fair enough.
With all that said, there is a special effect in movies that occurs on occasion in horror movies that just gives me the willies. Okay? And that is where something is at a distance, and there are two objects: your hero or whoever it is you're spectating, and the monster. Okay, and the monster's at a distance, and it does this high speed, shaky, and flies forward at you,
and it does that.
And it does it. It does that. It does that in that scene right there, and that as soon as because Georgie's like, nah, they all float. Like I'm getting chills just talking about this. Okay, I just want you to understand where I'm at. My heart is beating a little bit faster because I'm picturing all this in my mind, and he just starts rising up out of the water, and then all of a sudden he's just like, and comes flailing across the room through the water, and I'm like, nope. I'm curled up in a ball. I have my hoodie on. I have my hood tucked over me. I'm curled up in a little ball, and I am shaking while I'm watching this movie. All right. So I can't pick out the scariest part for me, but I do know the part that I hid my eyes for, and that is the room where Richie was by himself.
Where all the clowns
Where
appear.
all of the clowns are in there.
Did you notice it's not exact, but there's a Tim Curry Pennywise clown in there?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That was one of my favorite Easter eggs, and there are a ton of them.
There are a metric ton. I mean, the one that's in the background, like as he's approaching the coffin, that's in like the background for him, that like turns and looks at him. I thought that was going to be Pennywise.
Yeah.
And then he opens and shuts the thing, and he comes springing up out of the box, and I'm like, nope. Like everything about that entire what the hell were the kids thinking? Open up the one that says this is not scary.
So you're thinking of that from the manner of, okay, what would the monster do? The monster put the scariest one behind the one that says it's not scary. And they're like, hey, that one's not scary. Let's go here. It's a fear response. They're just like, let's go. Let's don't think about it. It's not scary.
You think so? And then they open it up, and there's a severed corpse on the other end of it.
Yeah.
That's talking to them.
Well, I mean...
And then they close the door, and then they're like, it's not real. And maybe that goes more back to, the more we believe in a thing, right?
Yeah.
Because even Pennywise that's, strangling the crap out of, what's his face that's down there, Eddie, because his arm's all floppy and whatever because he fell through the ceiling and broke his arm. As he's strangling him, he even stops there and like half turns and starts looking upstairs. By the way, Bill Skarsgård in this.
Oh, perfect.
Absolutely perfect. But his eyes were fucking with me.
Yeah, they actually sent him to like a clown college for a little bit to get the mannerisms and everything right, like his little dance.
That high-speed marionette dancing thing.
Yeah.
His eyes looking in different directions was not CGI. He can actually do that for real.
Wait, really?
Really, really.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Everything that was happening with his fucking eyes in this movie was bizarre.
Yeah.
And just you adding that information makes that even weirder. He can actually do that.
Yeah.
That's all him.
The whole plan was to have him looking in different directions with each eye, and they were going to use CGI. And the director, I don't remember his name, was talking to Bill Skarsgård about it, and he was like, yeah, I can do that.
Seriously.
There's no clowns on the page. You can turn your monitor on.
All right, I'm going to turn my monitor on. I'm going to reach up here and turn this monitor on.
Clowns everywhere.
Don't do that. I will punch this monitor. I swear to God I will. Whenever Pennywise's eyes look in two different directions, there are no special effects used for that. Director, however you say his name, Andres, whatever, Muschietti, I don't know.
Andre Muschietti.
Sure, why not? Had planned on using CGI to achieve this and informed Bill Skarsgård of this. But Skarsgård then demonstrated that he could do it on his own, and that's what was used in the final film. Holy crap. All right, that man's a monster, and I love him. Because the first scene where he's talking to Georgie, whenever you first cross paths with it, he's looking straight at him. Both eyes are just normal. And then as the conversation continues on, they start like separating. And it's the way it does it. It's just like it's looking straight at him. And then all of a sudden they start like veering off in two different directions. Like it's getting excited. Right?
Yeah.
It's bizarre is what it is.
Well, the director was again talking about how he wanted it to feel kind of otherworldly and like he couldn't control himself in that form. That's why the voice is pitched like it is, and I assume why the eyes are doing. Everything is made to seem like he's not supposed to be there, that he's from somewhere else.
Something about him is just off.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you know who played Richie in the original one?
No, I don't recall.
Harry Anderson.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I did know that. Actually, looked him up the other day. He's still alive.
Oh, yeah.
See, because the ladies that were sitting next to me, the ones that are like, oh, if you need to hold our hand, honey, it's fine. Because I had some mothers that were sitting next to me that were big Stephen King fans that sat next to me. And they were like, yeah, if you need to hold her hand, it's okay. And then they saw Harry Anderson was that, and I Googled him. And I was like, yeah, because they were asking if he was still alive.
And Seth Green played the child version of him, of Richie.
Oh.
Seriously. Wow, I didn't know that either.
Really, really.
See? Wealth of information over there is what he is. Hey, Dire Monkey, have you watched the original It?
Have not. I was looking to see if it was available anywhere.
Have you read the book?
I have not. I have actually not read any Stephen King books.
Seriously, none of them.
I started Dark Tower 1.
Yeah.
And it did not hold my interest.
You didn't read The Gunslinger?
I need to try it again, I think, but
make sure it's the revised version, and really, you got to push through the first one. The others are amazing.
See, the Gunslinger itself is nothing but world setup. That is it. Because it literally starts with the man in black fled across the desert and the Gunslinger followed. It starts with the Gunslinger.
And it's pretty much like 17 hours of just walking across the desert almost.
I mean, for the most part, aside from him having sex with a demon.
I didn't get that far. God damn it! You should have told me that. I would have pushed through the sex with the demon. I'm all about that shit.
He has sex with in the talking circle at the base of the mountain. He has sex with a demon.
I'm all about demon sex.
Desert way station. Slow mutants.
Yep.
Oliver. Done.
Yep. I mean, that's basically the long and short of it. He has sex with the demon in the talking circle for some information. And then
he pees on some corn.
And then they go up the mountain.
There's corn pissing too?
Yeah.
There's corn pissing.
God.
And then they go up the mountain, and they find a tunnel. Then they see some of the mutants, and he gets a bow, because they have a bow for a short time while they're in there. And then they end up getting to this part where Jake starts to fall off the side of the rail tracks, and the man in black says, "Catch me now or lose me forever." Something to that effect. And then he ends up falling off. He lets Jake drop, and Jake's like, "It's fine. There's other worlds than these." And death is but a door. And you end up catching him. And then there's the conversation between him and Walter for basically a century, or what he perceives to be a century. It's actually like...
Yeah, it's all tricky.
It's weird. Overnight. And he wakes up, and there's a bag or a pile of bones in front of him, which he perceives to be the man in black.
Yeah.
And then book 2 is where it really takes off. And that's where everything starts to come back around again. But that's because the Gunslinger story was written, and then there was like a huge break between that and everything to follow.
Yeah, I was reading an interview he did here recently where he talks about how he was never going to do a sequel.
Yeah.
And
well, how do you continue a story where you've killed off literally every other character except for the main guy?
You bring them all back.
You bring them all back. That's exactly right. Because death is but a door.
Yeah, I mean, he set it up in that one without even realizing it. It's probably just his drug haze, but whatever.
Right. I mean,
he originally did have a setup for a sequel. He had an outline that outlined books 1 through 7, and he got stoned and lost it.
Yep.
So he had to start over several years later.
It's like, all right, we'll continue this. But
that happened to him a lot. Like with The Stand, he lost 800 pages.
I mean, that would break my heart if I wrote 800 pages worth of stuff and just lost it.
Yeah, and most of it, again, written in a drug haze. Didn't remember any of it, so start over from scratch.
Captain Trips, baby. So what else you got over there?
Okay, the monsters. The original one took place in the 50s at this point. And one of the big things in the 50s was the Universal movie monsters. There was a nod to this. If you remember, towards the end, they used the mummy attacking Ben in the sewers. Whenever it had the wraps around him, it was just a real quick shot of it.
Right.
But I think there was a big missed opportunity there.
You think so?
New Line Cinema owns Freddy and Jason. This movie took place during the 80s. The original used all the big movie monsters. I would have loved to have seen, even just, for a little bit, they had an Easter egg with Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5 or whatever.
Yep, I saw that on a poster on a wall.
Because, are you honestly telling me Robert Englund wouldn't have done that?
I mean, maybe.
I mean, he loves playing Freddy. He's talked about it on multiple occasions.
True.
The only reason they were rebooting it is because they thought he was getting too old for it. But in the makeup...
I think the thing is that with that...
I have a thing about the TV or the movie posters, too.
All right.
I'm trying to get to it.
We'll get that in just a moment then. I think the thing with that is it might have seemed out of place to people that are reviewing this. Sure, the time frame would be right, and it would be more in par with the way they did the original one, but it would be a little genre out of place, I think, and that might be why there was that separation.
I think the way to set that up would be, instead of having them walk across that, have them coming out of the theater and talking about how that scared the crap out of them.
That would set it up better, yes, and I would agree with that wholeheartedly there. Kind of like in Stranger Things, all of the decor that's on the wall. You've got The Thing that was on one of the walls, is one of the posters that's in there.
Yeah.
It's all of the stuff that's happening within that time frame right there, all of the same time, and that's part of what it is that sets kind of some of that context for them. But I think that with this, if they would have just tossed it in there, sure, a poster on the wall is one thing, but if it was like poster on the wall that maybe people see, maybe they don't see, I happen to have seen it, but maybe not everybody notices it. And then you throw him in, actual, factual Freddy Krueger, it might seem out of place.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely would, but it would take
if you were to have
30 seconds to set it up.
Right, if you have that scene. But then, how bizarre would it be, unless you did it during one of the real early scenes where they're walking out of the movie theater. But it just, I don't know, they had other goals, other priorities.
Yeah.
Clearly, Bill is still all about going and tracking down where the pipes go to where his brother is. I think they had another agenda there, and it may have taken away from that.
Well, I mean, I just think
now, if in
that
scene where they separated, where Richie and Bill had a fight, if instead of finding Richie playing a video game, if they would have had them in like a movie theater, then maybe that would have worked, right?
Yeah, and what I was saying on that was if they could set it up early on that they do watch horror movies, because that's actually how they do it in the novel, is they talk about the universal monsters at one point. Mm-hmm. It's a very simple setup. It's very easy to do, and it sets up the fact that he feeds on your fears. And fear for a child a lot of times isn't going to be something that's a realistic fear like a lot of them had. It's going to be the movie monsters, the things that you're watching and wanting to scare yourself with.
Right.
That's what you do as a kid.
Yeah, it is. Diarma, did you find that listing?
Yeah.
What you got?
The actual movie posters were used as a way to mark the passage of time in the movie. So at the beginning you had June 1989, you had the Batman movie. July you had Lethal Weapon 2. And in August you had Nightmare on Elm Street 5, which were all released in 89 in those months to mark that passage of time.
Wow. See, that's subtle, and I like that. And I didn't even know it.
Yeah.
Did you see the D&D poster?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
It was blurry, but it was there.
Still there. Yeah, it is. See, because in those movies, you have to have something like that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're setting it up as the 80s, and you got to throw as many of the 80s things in there as you can.
Yep.
And there were tons of them.
Oh, yeah.
Anywhere and everywhere you looked, it felt like the 80s. There was nothing that felt too out of place for me.
Yeah, I don't think that I was really off with anything. What'd you think of the bully in this? Henry?
Yeah,
Henry.
he was interesting. Well, there was several bullies, but yeah.
Henry's your primary. I mean, Pennywise is your main antagonist, but Henry's like your human antagonist that was also another one of the driving forces. I think it was bizarre that Pennywise was kind of like talking to him as if they were like kind of allies. It's also bizarre that TV show was like broadcasting and like no one noticed how utterly bizarre the things that it was saying.
Well, he would have been the only one to be able to hear that.
Every time that kid show was on, in every scene that kid show was on, it was
because
always
you're the
Pennywise.
And you're the one, you're seeing it as the kids would see it looking at it.
I hate getting cold chills like this.
But the thing with the bully was with his father and him being abusive. I felt like that one was very tacked in at the end. They didn't set that up very well.
It's
it was
kind
like
of
he's abusive and now stabbed in the neck.
I mean, okay, so it's kind of a given. You kind of can tell that from all of it that there was that moment where he looks back at the cops that are standing over there, and there's no setup that that's his dad. It's just you think, okay, well, he's just scared to do something because he's a punk kid and he's not wanting to get in trouble because of the cops, right? But there's nothing that sets that up that that's his old man. It's definitely kind of tropey that you've got the bully who is, he's being thumped on himself, and that's the reason why he behaves the way he does. So that's kind of a given. I think it's kind of, a lob over the plate there.
Yeah, it is, but it's always nice to have that set up so you know that he's not just a dick doing this for
He's just a dick.
Reason. He is, but, I mean, he's got his own issues, and he's projecting them onto other people.
True, and I think that's portrayed pretty well here.
Yeah, I just wish there was an earlier setup.
True. I think an earlier I
saying.
think that maybe somebody getting him by the arm, like a principal grabbing him by the arm, being like, listen, you need me walk your ass over there to your dad? and him like looking like scared or, something would have been a little telling to that.
See, it's something that even if you've read the book, you wouldn't catch it that's his dad.
Right.
Because in the book, his dad's a farmer who happens to be feuding with Mike's family. And
Exactly.
That's what that whole deal's about.
Now, I think the scene where he loses the knife down the hillside,
Yeah.
my dad will, beat my ass. And
Oh, yeah.
I think that part's a little telling for it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very small nod to that, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, I've had those same thoughts, and I wouldn't say I was horribly abused. It's just like, oh, I just lost something expensive. I'm going to get my ass beat.
True. That's true. Then again, you and I never held a cat while one of the two of us was trying to take a shot at it.
That's true.
Because that kid is deranged.
Yeah, that reminded me of a scene from Good Son.
I know, right? Macaulay Culkin shooting that dog with that bolt gun.
Yep.
That's exactly where I went with that. You and I have the same brain, sir. Because Macaulay Culkin in that movie is demented.
Yeah, that's a messed up movie.
Hey, now there's a movie we should do for the Does It Hold Up?
Home Alone?
The Good Son.
Oh. I've never seen it.
Alone, where he shoots a dog with a bolt gun.
Yeah, he's got this makeshift bolt. It literally fires bolts. They're they superheat and then they launch, and he ends up taking out a dog with him. And he was like, "Whoops, I only meant to scare him." It's like how he's so cold and callous. That kid is super warped in that movie. Anyhow.
Oh, here's an interesting change they did that I kind of get and I kind of don't. It never actually appears as Georgie in the original novel until they're adults. That's something he uses to mess with him then when his memories aren't quite all there.
Right. Because if I recall correctly from what it is that I read / what it is that I recall from the pieces that I saw of the original, when they become adults, it's 27 plus years later. Or it's 27 years later.
Yeah.
So they come back to Derry as a result of bad shit happening again.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, it's Mike that stays behind, and he's the one that summons everybody back as well.
Yep.
And everybody gets there, and most people are like, no, that's not what happened. And they're like rationalizing the things that had happened whenever they were a childhood because they've blocked out all of the supernatural, unexplainable things.
Well, it's not even that they were rationalizing originally. The miniseries, it might have been. It's been forever since I've seen that. But once you're away from Derry, the memories go away of it. They fade the further away from Derry you are. The things start happening. They know they have to go back. They don't know why. They start showing up, and the memories start appearing. And then a lot of them are like, no, I don't want to be here.
Yeah, fuck all of this business. And so with this... that makes more sense to do it in that fashion where, you show back, you've been away and then you show back up and you remember your kid brother and you remember your kid brother being dead and then you show back up and then suddenly you're like, oh yeah, there's a monster and he totally ate my kid brother. And then it's showing you that, it comes back as your kid brother. That'd be kind of hard to deal with. It'd be traumatic to say the very least.
When Bill leaves, you find out that the girl he's with, I don't know who she is, but whenever he leaves to go back to Derry, he's never mentioned Georgie except in passing, like, oh, I had a brother. He's never mentioned he was horribly murdered.
Right.
And as he's leaving, he's like, my brother was horribly murdered. And it's something that just clicked into his head because he had not thought about it in years. And I hope they go that way with... They'll
definitely do the faded memory stuff. That's what part of Bev's foreshadowing, where she's talking about, oh, we got to come back later on because we were like our parents' age.
Yeah.
And it was back again. And that's when they make their vow, their blood pact, where they cut their hands and, they're all holding hands in a circle and, making their sworn vow to come back again. I think Mike is going to end up still being there because of his family ties.
Yeah.
I think everybody else is going to end up parting ways from there. Bill's family, based off the fact that, their youngest son has died.
Though in this one,
clearly Bev was left because of dad issues.
Yeah. But this one, they may actually have it flipped around where Ben's the one who stays.
I can see that.
Because of his...
He's kind of the
everything.
I was about to say, he's kind of the historian now. You know, I mean,
and they did say that Mike's family knew about the curse, so that might be what ties him to it.
Perhaps.
It could really go either way.
what did you think about the super zoom in effect that they were doing whenever whenever he was flipping through the book, and whenever they were watching the projector, and it kept zooming in on Georgie? Like, what did you think about that? Because the one where it's flipping through the book and it keeps getting closer and closer and closer in on that tree, and then there's a head in the tree.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the freakier ones.
Pretty cool effect.
My favorite was whenever they did that with the projector, just because, I mean, you're right there with them because, like, you're in a darkened theater, you're watching the movie, and as it flashes, you don't see anything else until it reappears. And it's not just you don't see anything on screen, there's nothing around you. It's a perfect theater moment.
And then they fucking knock it over in that blurry image of Pennywise.
Yeah.
And then giant monster fucking Pennywise comes crashing through the... No, everything about that was no.
Now my question is, do they have this in 3D?
Oh, no, I'm not going. If it's in 3D, you can go all by your little lonesome, my friend. I am not doing it. I don't know why they wouldn't have it in 3D, because it has several moments that are clearly okay for that type of thing.
Yeah.
It was I walked out of the theater. No, you don't understand, Adam. I walked out of the theater and I was tired. Like, it's like I had been running. I was exhausted from watching this movie.
I could tell from your video.
I was exhausted from watching the first video of me going into it. You can tell I'm a little on edge. I'm like looking around all over the place. I've watched myself a couple of times. I always go back and listen to myself or watch myself. Like, Dire Monkey and I have discussed this on a couple of occasions where, how many times do you listen to a show, or how much time do you spend recording and then all post stuff?
I listened to the show at least twice, just once as a independent tracks.
Yep.
And then once I get them mixed, I listen to it again.
Yep.
And remove any bleeps or anything I need to do.
Yep.
At
so
least.
For me, for every 1 hour recorded is about 2 hours of post.
Right.
Roughly. So you're spending about 3 hours an episode on most of these things. And, whenever I make a little quick video that I was like, okay, I'm going to just do this like pre-walking in and post-walking in thing, I've watched it a couple of times. And those are just, I didn't do any retakes. I just started filming, and I'm like looking all over the parking lot because I'm like, there are people pulling in all over the place, and some of these assholes are dressed like clowns.
You saw, like, I sent you a picture of where I was parked.
Yeah.
I had to drive an hour and a half to see this movie.
Yeah, you went to the middle of nowhere.
And
in a drive-in.
Yeah, it was. Well, no, the drive-in was
Oh,
completely
okay, sorry,
full.
you went somewhere else.
I had to keep going past the drive-in.
Oh, Lord.
I went all the way to Monette, and it was in this little theater, like the Star Plaza or something, and we're parked by this trail that just goes off into the woods.
If somebody would have had the mindset to like dress as a clown and stand at the wood line, I probably would have run them over.
Funny story about that drive-in. If it's the same one, I saw Jurassic Park, the first one.
Really?
At that drive-in, and it was in the woods, and we saw it in the car, which was a Jeep, in the rain.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
If some way they could have like caused a couple of really loud thumps and make you feel it, you would have been like pooping yourself.
Oddly enough, the first time I saw Speed was on a bus on the way to Mexico.
What the? What? How do you do that?
I don't know. I don't know, but I just have.
It's like me sitting in seat 666 going to see Pennywise.
Exactly.
Oh.
I really wish I could have gotten into the drive-in. That would have been freaky.
See, okay, if you were at a drive-in and then they changed all like their little car hop people that come around and whatever to people dressed as clowns, that would have been absolutely the worst. Worst.
You have a hatchback in front of you and a red balloon rolls out.
Oh, no. No.
We're done.
Yep, that's the movie right there.
Roll credits.
So, okay. Pennywise deals with children and adolescents.
In general, yeah.
In general.
Because he can make their meat tastier.
Now, adults, he could overtake an adult.
Yeah, easily.
Easily. I mean, he's a monster.
Yeah, he just prefers children.
Because they're yummies. They're like the candies. They're delicious because they're easier to terrify.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that they're easier to terrify. Their fears are easier to quantify.
Okay. So,
and that's something he does actually talk about at some point.
right. So but what I'm getting at and what I'm trying to phrase a little bit here is the dad can't see the blood in the bathroom.
Because Pennywise doesn't want him to.
And that's the only reason.
Yeah. Now, if he were to believe in Pennywise or Pennywise were to want him to see it, he'd be able to.
Okay. Same with the TV show being projecting the way it is.
Yeah, he can project
So
it
basically-
directly into your mind.
So basically what he's doing with that show is, and anytime it was ever on, like one of the scenes, it was like, come on down to the sewers. It's fun to play in the sewers.
Yeah.
It's just him setting lures out for kids. That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. He's sending it out to anybody who he thinks he can scare enough to make them taste it.
See, it's weird that he has kind of this like omnipresent kind of thing going on for him, right?
Yeah.
But the kids are kind of also able to sneak up on him a little bit.
He's not omnipresent so much as he can be anywhere he wants to be, and he can be in multiple places, but he can't be everywhere.
Yeah, but it's weird that there's like a cap to that ability, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's weird and it's not, because he's not, God by any means.
Right.
He's just something that's very old and
Powerful.
very, yeah. And he does have telepathic abilities.
Right.
It's one of the things. He's supposed to be able to read your mind, so that's how
he gets into your head to get the thing. By the way, terrible choice for trying to scare Bev there at the very end.
Oh, yeah.
Because at that moment, she wasn't scared of her dad. She's just angry.
No, my only regret there was she did not use the double tap.
I know, right? Oh, she was like the roar. That young lady, when she just hauls up and screams because Pennywise changes into Daddy.
I mean, when she hit Daddy.
Yeah, well, that too. But in the sewers, when it was getting ready to flip over and, like hide because they're like, oh, you're going to starve and all this stuff and whatever, and they're basically threatening it. When he was right there and he changed into her dad and looks up at her, and she's like, ah, and then hauls off and hits him.
Oh, she didn't hit him. She took the thing and jammed it down his throat.
Oh, yeah, you're right. No, she hit him when she was in the bathroom with the lid from the toilet and broke it.
Yeah, that's just her dad.
Yeah, that was straight up. That was straight up her dad. Yes,
yeah.
And that same scene was the one that made me almost jump out of my chair. I actually had a tear roll down my eye. It freaked me out so much.
Where she turns
around and he is right there, and
he's not just there, but he's massive.
And he grabs her. In that moment, right there, I screamed. The three ladies next to me screamed. My legs flailed. And then immediately I curled into myself and was like, I cried a little bit. It scared the actual tears out of me. Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. It's a funny image.
But it was awful. That moment was like the peak of me being scared in that movie.
Well, I mean, it'd been building and building, and then he has Bev. There's that big jump scare. Just everything's culminating because you're not even expecting.
But by God, it released at that moment. It was like a cable snapping, and it was over. Like I was like, nope, we're done.
Yeah, I mean, it was the perfect jump scare at that point because you had no idea it was coming.
Right,
she was victorious.
She just whipped her. Yeah, she just saved herself from her dad. Right?
And then she turns around and she's screwed.
Yeah. Yeah.
All in one swoop.
Yeah.
And I actually found myself sitting there being like, are they going to kill her in this? Is she dead?
Oh my God, I was freaked out. And then the blood smeared across the wall in her bedroom. Yeah. You try, you die. Oh my God.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Everything was delightful about this movie. I strongly recommend that if you want to go see something truly terrifying, you go see this. It scared the bricks off me because I'm scared of clowns. Like I said, Adam, you enjoy horror movies. Recommendable?
Oh, definitely. Especially if you liked Stranger Things. Finn Wolfhard is in this.
Yep, he's fantastic in this as well. Richie is delightful.
Also, a fear of clowns.
Yeah.
He has a...
he is actually.
Yeah.
They actually ask him that as a character in this movie because they look at him and they're like, they're feeding off our fears. Richie, what are you scared of? And he's like, clowns. Like he just is like clowns. And then comes the moment whenever they're actually squaring off against it, and he's talking smack about his buddy, and he's like, "Now you're gonna make me kill this fucking clown."
That was the best part, I think.
That was the best line. He pulls that bat off there, and Pennywise is immediately like, he fucking hisses at him and gets up. He's like, "Damn it," because he was making him an offer. He's like, "Listen, you just leave me your little friend here, and you can all go away." And
Now
like,
you're gonna make me kill
now
this
you're gonna make
fucking
this
clown.
kill this fucking clown. I hate you so much. Oh my god. Okay, so I've done pretty well at not thinking about this movie, right?
Yeah.
Like I've not like had I've had like moments where I've been sleeping and I woke up because I've been thinking about this fucking movie, but for the most part I've put it out of my head. But it is very memorable. Despite my best efforts, like that's how I'm able to talk about this like this, but it still has me like I'm still a little tense even thinking about it because it's haunting, and I don't do well with clowns as it is anyhow. Yeah. Totally worth checking out, totally worth watching. Adam, I appreciate you being on with me. I know that we've got just a few minutes left here in the episode, but I know that Andrew, I spoke with him. For all of those that check out Andrew's show over there at Flick Freaks, spoke with him earlier today. He's been doing well. He's got himself a new dog. I think he's taking a little bit of a break from some of his recording, tiny bit of a hiatus for the Flick Freaks over there. But we're still rolling strong over on Spellcast. We just got done with recording an episode over there for it this morning. Actually, just before we did this.
Yep, about an hour ago.
So we got on there and talked about a bunch of different things. One news clip, but we've been developing a new segment on there where we're talking about... Does it hold up? Where we're talking about movies, old movies that we've watched over again to determine if it holds actual water or if it's just us like remembering things better than they were.
Right.
But as we're here at the end of the episode, I'm going to put you on a spot, Adam.
Okay.
Something I like to do on occasion when I've been on here and I've had people on with me is I like to discuss weird movie crossovers. Okay. So Jareth, the one that he's gone to a couple of times is... Johnny Five, so Short Circuit, and Terminator. And he bridges the gap between the two, stating that Johnny Five eventually realizes that human beings suck and they all treat him badly, and he progressively becomes Skynet and then develops monster robots to then take over the world. I'd like you to, on the spot here, think of two movies and bridge the two gaps. Like, they can be two totally... Like, explain to me how Legally Blonde and Dracula Untold exist in the same universe, and I'd be a happy camper, right? So pick two movies and, like, try to, like, arc the connection between the two of them as best you can.
You couldn't have given me any warning.
No, I don't want to
on
give you a
this.
warning for this. That's what makes this fun.
Why can't you give me two movies?
Okay, I'll give you two movies. I'll give you the same two movies I always use. Cool World, in literally any movie, exists with Cool World in the background. So Pennywise, everything from It, Cool World exists in the background of every movie ever. It is in the background of all things. You lose a person and never hear from them again, they've slipped off into a cartoon animated reality where Brad Pitt just happens to be a guy that tells you that Noids don't have sex with doodles.
All right.
Or the Predator series and overlap it with Avatar. You know, you get the Predator aliens showing up trying to hunt down the Na'vi on their world because, you know, they're trying to hunt down big game. See, it's a lot of fun. You got anything? Nothing?
I'm really kind of terrible at this without, like, you know.
That's all right. That's all
having
right.
two movies set up for
You'll know something for next time, I suppose. Then,
I got a
Diamond,
new
you got a
one.
new one?
New one. Yeah.
What is it?
Oh crap!
Oh, he had it.
What's the name of it? Westworld and Jurassic Park.
Okay, so bridge the gaps.
Well, it's written by the same guy,
Right.
So you've got that, but also it's that same corporation that built Westworld.
Right.
They're working on doing
Engine.
engine and
Yeah.
working on dinosaurs, and so you got the two. You got Disney and Six Flags fighting it out with dinosaurs and
Western fuck dolls. Yep, that you can kill and
yeah. Then you take the Western fuck doll horde that go save like some kids in the raptor pen.
yeah, because it doesn't fucking matter
Right.
because they're just
Exactly.
yeah. See, that all works. I love that. See, it's an amusement park times 2. You got Westworld exists. Mm-hmm. Someone was going, well, Engine's making too much money. We need to find our own angle that we can go off of in order to be able to, drive home some real money for us, because dinosaurs are cool. All kids love dinosaurs. But let me ask you this, sir and or ma'am. What else do kids love? That's right, Westerns. Love shoot 'em up Westerns. Yeah. I propose to you that we have an adult-themed Western place that we can go to. Let the kids go out there and play with all the dinosaurs. They keep having all sorts of park issues. We can control this a lot easier because people are easy to control, especially clones of people. Yeah, see, I love this. So Jurassic Park is in the same Jurassic Park and in this universe that Dire Monkey has created here. Jurassic Park and Westworld are competing theme parks.
I see Westworld being in the west, Vegas area, and Jurassic Park is, where Jurassic Park is, out in
the islands,
South Pacific or wherever. Yeah. Where was that?
It's off the West Coast, way off the West Coast. So yeah. So you put one not terribly far. Yeah, definitely further inland, but
right.
Yeah,
or Southern America, somewhere like that.
I love that. That's good. But next time you're on, you'll know.
Okay.
So. Okay, how about I got another good one for you, and this will be the very last one. Maximum Overdrive and the movie Black Dog with, was that Kurt Russell? Is that Kurt Russell?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's Kurt Russell. It's a movie about him driving trucks, and bad guys are chasing him and stuff like that, and the Black Dog is a thing that... truck drivers see.
Patrick
Swayze. I get those two switched around sometimes depending on the film, but
Meatloaf and Randy Travis.
Right. So Meatloaf? Seriously, Meatloaf's in this? Yeah. I forgot that Meatloaf was in this.
Red.
Oh my God, he is in this, isn't he? Wow, I love that. I always get him mixed up in this movie because I honestly think that Black Dog fits really nicely with this other theory that I've got that old Jack Burton, old Jack Burton from Big Trouble in Little China. He's a truck driver. That's Kurt Russell. Right. He leaves that knowing this mystical world of Chinese, sorcerer and stuff like that. Big Trouble in Little China, as it is. Well, he's a truck driver, and he leaves. From that, he ends up getting intertwined with some regular street thugs. That's where you start getting into the Black Dog territory. After so long, he gets arrested a couple of different times, and the next thing you know, he gets put into some type of prison. He takes on a new identity, which is Snake Plissken. And the next thing you know, you're at Escape from New York, followed by Escape from L.A. And so it started off as Big Trouble in Little China and progressed itself all the way across to this other thing. And I am connecting that based off of truck driving themes.
And I still say that John Wick takes place in the Matrix.
See? How delightful would that be? It's just a program where all of them are assassins.
Well, yeah, it's because everybody in that is assassin.
Everyone in that is an assassin. Everyone in that movie is an assassin.
And nobody pays attention to what's going on with the assassins.
Yeah, because it's just part of the program. It's all fine. See? It's delightful.
And the cop that shows up at the house is just like the Microsoft Word Clippy. Yeah. Everything going okay?
Yeah.
Do you need help?
Do you need tips for this? All right. Dire Monkey, you have anything you want to add for Spellbook Studios?
Check out spellbook.com for some new information coming soon. We got some new equipment in the office that we're playing with. Then we hope to be bringing you something really cool.
Cool. All right. Well, that sounds promising. Also, be staying tuned to things from us over here at Spellbook Studios and Spoilercast, as well as everything for all other channels for All Tower Media, all the Let's Plays and things of that nature that we do. And we got some plans in the works that are hopefully going to keep us growing, and I appreciate everybody's support and continued dedication to our channel. So until next time, boys and girls, we will see you later. Adam, thanks for being on with me.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'll see you on the next episode with us. All right, man?
All right.
Bye.
Everybody's got their fetish, man.